The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericahealth.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome to Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. Are you trying to master the game of life without success? There are secrets and strategies to living your best life. We'll share some of them with you on today's show. Take advantage of this series to become an expert at relationships. All relationships. It's time to live the life that you deserve to live. Now, here's your host, Sandra Reich.
Welcome to Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. Today I'm really excited. We're doing two different parts of the show, both on the same theme, which is living your best life. And to be perfectly honest, when I first had the idea to do Straight Talk, or actually when Voice America first came to me about doing a radio show, I really wanted to do a show about living your best life. It has a lot to do with the work I do at the clinic, a lot to do with the work I do at the retreats, pretty much everything I do. We have a very special guest in the second half of the show, Patricia Raskin. She's just unbelievable. She's got a radio show on Voice America as well. She's an author. She's a nationally recognized multimedia radio talk show host. I'll tell you more about her when she comes on. And she's going to talk about aging with passion and vigor. But I wanted to, before we get to aging with passion and vigor, I wanted to talk about living with passion and vigor. So I wanted to sort of start today on the idea of what does it take to live your best life? What's the difference between people who live in what many call the 10%, which includes things like wealth and certainty, fulfillment, prosperity, confidence, living your dreams, excitement, lifestyle, great lifestyle, security, and financial freedom, and most importantly, fearlessness, as opposed to the group of the population that many say are about 90%, which are just getting by, surviving, being in their comfort zone, anxious, depressed, wondering, what if I fail? And just feeling sort of their lives are average. And this has been a big question that I've wondered about and researched for years. If what makes the difference between that 10% and that 90%? So today I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the things that I know to be true to get you into that 10% of having the best possible life, no matter what your circumstances are, because that's another issue. We get dealt different cards in life. So many of you listening might be saying, well, you know, the 10%, they got it easy and I got it hard. I would challenge that. Now, before we get into the first concept that I would like to get across about living your best life, I want to talk about a story that my partner in Empowered Women Workshops often talks about. She calls it the story of the crabs. So whenever we say that, we get a little chuckle. So the story of the crabs is that when crabs are in a jar and one crab is trying to get out of the jar, did you know that the other crabs will try to grab the crab and pull the crab back down into the jar? It's interesting. And we're going to use that as a bit of a metaphor today, because often when you want to change your life, you'll notice, and I'm sure many of you listening have found this, you have like an idea of how you're going to change your life, and you tell your buddy or your family member, and their reaction is, oh, I don't know, that sounds good, but... And you start to hear a whole bunch of reasons why your new idea or your new way of living your life is not going to work. So we always think about that in terms of the crabs. Why do people do that? Are people just not nice? I don't think so. I think that why people do that is because if you want to change your life to be better, I think it's scary because I think a lot of us, without realizing it, settle in our lives. So the first thing I want you to consider if you're listening and you're thinking, I want to live a better life, I want to go back to school, I want to change my relationship, I want to end my relationship, whatever it is, I want to choose a different career at any age. And you tell people and they start giving you the yes buts. I want you to remember that story of the crabs pulling you back into the jar as we're miserable, so you have to be miserable too. And try very hard to surround your life with people who, instead of saying yes but, say, wow, that sounds interesting. Not sure exactly how you're going to do that, but wow, tell me more. So that's one thing that I would say before we even consider talking about how you change your life, we have to definitely put out there right now. So watch the crabs. So today I thought one of the things I want to bring up on Straight Talk is how do you live your life and what is the story that you tell yourself? What is the story you tell yourself? Have you ever wondered what your story is? Does it sound like this? Nothing ever works out for me. Lucky him, lucky her. Or how about this one? It is what it is. I don't deserve it. This will never work. Why bother? Or one of my favorites, this is uncomfortable. I'm going to avoid trying to do this. Is that one of your stories? Or is your story, your internal dialogue, is it, I can do this. I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. We all face challenges. Being uncomfortable is okay. Not fun, but okay. And I'm going to throw myself into this. And whatever happens, happens because I'm growing into the best version of myself. So let's take a second here and really contemplate what story you tell yourself. And we're all made up of many stories. Example, maybe the story I tell myself in my career could be, I can do this. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm okay either way. But in my romantic life, when things go wrong, maybe the story I tell myself is, it is what it is. I have to be careful because what we know in psychology, which is the field, as you know, I'm in, is that the brain believes the story that you tell it. So we have to be very careful what story we're telling the brain. If I keep telling myself that it is what it is, or it's not going to work, I will prove myself to be right. So a little homework. What's the story you tell yourself? And tell the truth, okay? Maybe now, maybe right after the show, I would say write it down. And this is one of the key strategies to start to live a purposeful and better life is to write down what are you telling yourself about the possibilities for you. Here's another one that I love. It's too late. So I went back to school. I was bartending for 22 years of my life. And I had gone through university. I had a degree in Spanish, not the most useful degree. And I was bartending while I was in school and found when I graduated, there wasn't a lot of jobs for people who speak some Spanish. So I stayed in the bar business. And I worked there for many years. And people would come in and tell me their problems. And one day the bar I worked at burned down, and I found myself without work. And I don't want to really date myself here, but I was already in my 30s. And I found myself not able to earn a living. And I was university educated, and it was pretty depressing. So I thought, well, what am I good at? It seems that people like to tell me their stories. I'm going to go back to school, and I'm going to become a psychotherapist or a psychologist. I'm going to go into psychology. And I had a good story. I said, I'm going to do it. Of course, I thought it would take no time, which wasn't the case. But the first person I told, which was a family member, looked at me like I was from Mars and said, you can't do that. It's too late in life to do that. So that's another story. it's too late. And that's where Patricia's going to come in and talk about aging with passion is it's too late. You're in your 30s. You're supposed to be having babies now. You can't go back to school. And worse than that, I called the school and they told me I'd have to do another bachelor's degree. So I would have to be studying with 19-year-olds. Well, I'm happy to say I didn't listen to the stories that I heard out there. I didn't let the crabs pull me back into the jar. And I lived to tell the story. I got through it. And I run a clinic now, and a very successful clinic at that. Now, my point is not to say how wonderful for me. Not at all. My point is the story. Was it too late? And I really believe it's never too late in life to live your dream. So let's be careful about that story too. I do want to mention, again, that the brain will absolutely always create what you tell it to create. So the concept of a hysterical pregnancy. If a woman really believes she's pregnant, even if she's not, if she believes it strong enough, we know in psychology she can start developing symptoms of pregnancy. A big belly, there's been cases of breast lactating, and that's how powerful our brains are. So the story that you're telling yourself right now, right this minute as you're listening to me, is telling your brain what your future is going to be. So we're going to take a short break, but I'm going to ask you to think about on the break, what's the story you tell yourself, and do you want to change that story? This is Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. We'll be right back.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reich, on her famous couple retreats and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com. Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reich. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety video therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you choose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever.
Ladies, how about a luxurious weekend while learning to empower yourself? Join Straight Talk's Sandra Reich January 29th at a gorgeous spa in Quebec for 3 days and 2 nights of empowerment, growth, and decadence. Delicious food, powerful learning, and much more. Life 2.0 The Retreat. Master how to command respect in your relationships. Learn about yourself and what is blocking you from living your best life. Meet other like-minded women and join in on the retreat that sells out year after year. Isn't it time you chose you? Call us at 514-796-4357. That's 514-796-4357. Don't miss your chance to change your life and relationships forever.
You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reich.
Welcome back to Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. A serious and yet a very exciting topic today. How do you live your best life? Serious because we have to look at the story we tell ourselves about our life in order to make a change in our life. And that's not easy because sometimes we've been telling ourselves a story for a long time that's become comfortable and not necessarily helping us, but yet so very comfortable. Let me explain what that means. For example, if the story you tell yourself is that there's no way you can change your life, it is what it is, there's something strangely seductive about that because it lets you off the hook. So I asked you on the break to consider writing down a different story. I'm going to ask now if you're possibly attached to your current story. That's another question. There's no shame in that because sometimes it feels like it's just too hard to change your story. So you have to very much want to change your story and also be committed to change the story. Now, here's a question I have, and I'm not going to get an answer right now. Maybe somebody will call in, but why do people stay attached to a story? Well, there's a lot of payoffs to staying attached to a story. I mean, there's a lot of payoffs to telling people how rough it is and how you would have liked to do something with your life, but you couldn't. It was interesting, the family member when I went back to school who said to me, "Are you kidding, Sandra? You can't go back to school at your age. This is, how do you know you'll have any clients? You're too old. It's over." Interestingly enough, when I finished my schooling, he sat down with me, and when it was all said and done, he turned to me and he said, "I really admire you. I would have liked to change my life, but I really believed it was too late." So I finally understood why he had given me such a hard time in life, telling me that I couldn't do this. So sometimes the reason we stay attached to a story is because it lets us off the hook. So the next point that I want to discuss is committing to taking responsibility for your life. How does that sound? What about a commitment towards the story you tell yourself as of today, as of now? How about a commitment on that? So what would that mean, a commitment? Would it mean that every single time you tell yourself the bad story, you'd have to sort of switch yourself to the good story, that you can get through this, it's an obstacle, obstacles happen, and that life is working with you and trying to help you, and things can be uncomfortable, and change is uncomfortable. I can tell you from having treated thousands of clients, and for anything that people want to change, it is highly uncomfortable. But discomfort is not dangerous. So I think that's another thing we have to consider is, can we handle some discomfort? And I think it's important that we understand that it does not have to be ridiculous discomfort. We take things step by step by step, okay? So we don't have to have that level of discomfort to be able to move forward. We take it one step at a time. So that's the next thing, is taking commitments, saying you're going to be responsible for your life, and then breaking it down in steps that are manageable. Okay, so if you have a piece of paper near you, please start to make that new story. Tell yourself what it could be, and consider how this is going to impact your life. Now, some of you might be listening and saying, I don't buy it. I don't buy. So I have a quote for you that I love from Atkinson and Steele that says, "Your achievements in life are determined by your personal beliefs in self, the dreams you have, and the action you take to make these dreams reality." I want us to think about that, okay? So if your achievements in life are determined by your personal beliefs in yourself, that means that your internal reality is actually determining your external reality, not the other way around. That's big. That's big. Let's think about that, okay? Again, internal reality are the thoughts that you tell yourself. External reality are the circumstances of your life. So which one makes more of a difference? Apparently, the story you tell yourself can have a more profound effect than the actual external reality in your life. So when we say to ourselves, well, we can't have our dreams because we don't live in the right neighborhood, or we don't have enough money, that story is more detrimental than the actual reality of where you live. I hope this makes some sense. I want to be very, very clear now. So one thing to consider is, again, external versus internal reality. One of them is what happens outside of you, and one of them is what's happening inside of you. So internal control is actually, we know through research, linked with happiness and success. Okay? Internal, your thoughts. So a lot of people say it like this: perception is reality. So how you interpret your life will determine it all. So your perception is your reality. So that means even the bad or good luck you have had in your life is somewhat irrelevant, depending on your perception of you and it. You decide. And I find this is fantastic news, because this means that what you tell yourself is going to determine how you interpret your life, which is going to determine your life. So please consider that. And remember, perception is reality basically means that how I see a circumstance, for example, a failure, is going to determine more than if there is actually a failure or not. I think we have a call. I think I've been told we have a call. Do we have a caller?
Yes, hello?
Hello?
Oh, hello. Is Sandra?
Yes, with whom am I speaking?
Oh, hi, my name is Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, thank you for taking my call today.
Sure.
So I'm
Jeff, do you have a question?
Yes.
Okay,
so
great.
I'm finding that the show is very interesting, and I'm kind of, when I'm listening to you, I tend to tell myself like a victim story, like, poor me, I shouldn't have to do this, or I shouldn't have to go here because it's not good for me. So, I tend to listen to my internal voice as something that protects me, although, I don't know if it's really helping me. Although it protects me, like, oh, it's storming out, so call in the office today and tell them that you can't come in, because you don't want to go out in a storm, you don't want to get yourself into a car accident. So it's protecting me in a way, but I feel like it's also at the same time holding me back or not working for me. It's not really protecting me. How do I get out of my comfort zone?
Oh, Jeff, that's such a brilliant question, and I think you answered it a little bit yourself. Okay, so the voice is telling you, like, I don't want to be uncomfortable. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's understandable, because discomfort is not fun. We agree on that. However, growth is not possible without discomfort. It starts when we're kids. My little girl tells me her bones literally hurt as she's growing. So discomfort, I want you to consider that discomfort is linked with growth. So therefore, the idea of avoiding discomfort is not necessarily a good thing. So we have to sort of teach your brain a new way of thinking. So the voice that comes in and says, avoid discomfort at all costs, is not actually looking out for you. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So the voice comes in and says, it's stormy outside, I don't want to go to work. I mean, that's a very specific example, because we have to also evaluate, depending on your work, depending on how stormy it is. I mean, there's a difference between an anxiety response and a fear response, meaning a fear response, if there's real danger, you have to respect that. But there's anxiety response, which is just sort of trying to seduce you into avoiding anything that might make you slightly uncomfortable or even mildly uncomfortable. That we have to be careful about. Okay, so the first idea is to sort of accept that discomfort is growth. So I ask you, what is the story you tell yourself? Do you want growth in your life?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that would mean that the next time you have this thought that you want to avoid discomfort, you're saying you don't want growth in your life. What do you think of that?
Very, very interesting. I didn't look at it like that.
Yeah, well,
wow.
So I'm asking you to take responsibility, and I'm asking you the next time, and I'm sorry, Jeff, to put that on you, but you'll thank me in the long run. I'm asking you to, the next time that you want to listen to the voice that tells you to avoid discomfort, that means you're now saying, I don't want to grow. Okay, and that's okay. We all have days we don't want to grow. You don't have to grow every day, okay? But you may want to grow more often than not.
No, I do, and that's why when I heard you speaking, I was very taken by what you're saying, and I'm like, this, it's true. You're absolutely right, and I want to grow, and I know that, and to answer, to just go a little bit more elaborate about the whole snow thing, is that I really could have gone to work. But
okay.
I can't be bothered, It's and I put that critical, that internal voice to seduce me, like what you said, to get me not to do something, to hold myself back.
Well, I want to tell you something about you, Jeff, is that you are very honest, number one, and to tell the truth is more than 50% of the journey. And you not only did you tell the truth, you told the truth on the radio station, And you know what? That's what it is. Tell yourself the truth when you're playing those games. We all play these games, but you have the guts to say so. So I congratulate you.
Thank you, Sandra.
And thank you so much for the call, Jeff.
Thank you. I'm enjoying the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. This is Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. We're going to take a break.
Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reich. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety video therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you choose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever.
Ladies, how about a luxurious weekend while learning to empower yourself? Join Straight Talk's Sandra Reich January 29th at a gorgeous spa in Quebec for 3 days and 2 nights of empowerment, growth, and decadence. Delicious food, powerful learning, and much more. Life 2.0 The Retreat. Master how to command respect in your relationships. Learn about yourself and what is blocking you from living your best life. Meet other like-minded women and join in on the retreat that sells out year after year. Isn't it time you chose you? Call us at 514-796-4357. That's 514-796-4357. Don't miss your chance to change your life and relationships forever.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reich, on her famous couple retreats and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com. You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reich.
We're back with Straight Talk with Sandra Reich, and I have someone on the show that exemplifies exactly what we've just been talking about, living your very best life. I can't tell you how excited I am to have her. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Patricia Raskin is the host of the Patricia Raskin Show on Voice America. She is a powerhouse woman, and I got to meet her. I was so excited, and she's everything I imagined and much, much more. She's nationally recognized. She's a multimedia radio talk show host. She's on many, many shows. She's an award-winning producer, coach, and author. What doesn't she do? She's a pioneer in her field, and she's really recognized by many people as the powerhouse voice behind lifestyle, health, and wellness. So who better to talk about living your best life. Let me tell you some of the people she's interviewed, by the way, this amazing Patricia Raskin. She has interviewed Dr. Maya Angelou, Marianne Williamson, Jane Seymour, Dr. John Gray, Dr. Andrew Well, Jack Canfield, Dr. Oz, Joan London. Who haven't you interviewed? My God. Welcome to the show, Patricia.
Thanks so much, Sandra. It was a pleasure. It's a very great pleasure.
I'm so excited to have you because we spent the first segment talking about living your best life and that it's never too late in life to live your best life. And I know you're very interested in that topic yourself about living your best life. And I also know from having met you that you very much walk the walk of taking responsibility for your life. How are you so good at that?
Trial and error. Well, no, I think the real answer to that question is that I always want to improve. And so I get a lot of help. A lot of us, we look like we know what we're doing. We do, but you don't do it alone. And I've had lots of coaching. I've had therapy. I've had teachers. I've had all kinds of people that I've worked with who guided me and worked with me. And I've taken their suggestions and I've worked through my own things. But I definitely am always looking to improve. And I think that's the answer.
So I don't know if you heard the first segment, but when I talked about the crabs, people try to pull you back sometimes. When you went, you're so honest and so real, and this is why I was blown away by you when I met you in New York City. Wow, was that a great moment? But yeah, were there people pulling you back when you were when you were moving along your journey? Were there people telling you this is not going to work and putting negative energy towards you?
Sure. What's interesting is when I first started back in the 80s, I had people tell me, and I did this concept of positive people. It was my first cable TV show, and cable was just starting, so I was always a pioneer. People told me it wouldn't work. They said, if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead, and you will not succeed with this concept because people don't want to hear the good stuff. And they were wrong, and I stayed with it.
Amazing.
I also think there were times when my family didn't understand because I was so driven to do this. And, it's a little bit of a risky business. Yeah. So yes. But
I'm sorry, Patricia. I'm just curious as you say that, how did you work as a broadcaster begin? I don't know the story.
Well, it started as a hobby because I was a teacher and a guidance counselor. And I had an opportunity to do this cable TV show that was just starting. Cable had never been anywhere before, but it was starting with community access in the early 80s. And I was a child prodigy singer, so I had performed.
Wow.
And I just got up there and I did it, and that was the very beginning. And so I think because of that, I did cable, and then I did other cable radio shows and TV shows. I started on TV. I started in Massachusetts, and then did cable shows in Connecticut, and did a lot of cable in New England. And then when I relocated to North Carolina, then I started getting into doing television on Fox affiliates and doing public affairs shows. I produced documentaries for the PBS affiliate there. I did some freelance work for NPR. And then I started doing radio. So it just kind of built. It went from a hobby, something that I loved, and then I built it up into my own business.
Wow. So I'm wondering, you built it into this business. I'm wondering what the purpose and what is the purpose of this? Why do you do it on the internet, and how does it help your listeners?
Well, my purpose has always stayed the same. It's about helping people to turn problems into solutions through the media. And I'm very much of a networker catalyst. My symbol is a bumblebee, and I'm really a consummate bee. If you watch a bee, they go to the flower and they buzz around and they pull the pollen out and poof, it's out there. And that's what I do. I'm very, very targeted. I work with my guest. I bring the best out, and poof, I get it out through the airwaves. And then I move on to the next one. And that's what I do. And I just think it's something that, for whatever reason, is what is my calling. And whether it's giving a radio show or giving a motivational talk or doing a training or facilitating a group, it's very much about connecting people and showing them that there is hope and that there are really good things, and we have to look at those more. We don't see it enough.
Yeah, well, your show really does do that. You talk about turning obstacles into opportunities. Please let everybody know when your show is on exactly.
Well, on Voice America, it's on Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern and 11 a.m. Pacific. And they house the shows after. And you can just look up the Patricia Raskin Show. Yeah. And then I'm on a broadcast affiliate in Rhode Island, Cumulus. Cumulus is one of the major broadcasters of the country. And I'm on their affiliate in Rhode Island. It's the largest talk station in southern New England. And I'm in my 9th year. And so I'm on once a week. I think what makes that interesting is that I have to find my own sponsors. So I'm not just a broadcaster. Now I'm a marketer and a salesperson. So that's a whole different thing. But I also sometimes will guest host for one of the major daily talk show hosts, and that's always a thrill because, to have that opportunity to be in that spotlight with all those listeners is really wonderful. And I just try to skew positive. I don't, what's the word I want to use? I don't deviate. I don't say, well, I don't want to talk about this because it's negative. But what I do is I look at what that issue is and I don't stay on the negative too long. The next thing I do after we present it is I say, what can we do about it? And if a caller calls in and they're just too negative and they're slamming things and criticizing constantly, then I let them go because that's not my kind of radio. There are plenty of other talk show hosts that do that every single day that you can listen to.
I can't help but wonder, listening to this, have you always been this positive?
No. There's a saying, and I've written about this. There's a book by Richard Bach, who I interviewed, and his book is called Illusions. He's written many books, and in the book, there is a saying by Jonathan Livingston Seagull, who is the seagull in the story.
Yeah, right.
And the quote, which I never forget and is my motto, is this: you teach others what you need to learn most for yourself.
Oh, yes, so true.
Yeah, I stood in front of 100 college students, a local college here, and this one boy in the back raised his hand, and he said, excuse me. He said, can I just ask you, have you always been positive? Is this just the way you were born, or? And I laughed. I said, well, first of all, I said, read my book, and I said, and secondly, no. I said, I grew up with a lot of criticism, well-meaning, but criticism. And I said, I'm not sure how much it helped me. It certainly made me strong. It certainly made me driven and determined. But I think there's another way to do things. And I think that it can harm.
So you really took your lemons and turned them into lemonade, it seems like. Exactly. Now, with all these expert guests and celebrities that you've interviewed, what do they say about happiness and success? Is there a universal message you get from them?
I don't know if there's a universal, but I think all of these people are resilient. I think they've all had knocks in their life. I think most of them have forgiven. I think a lot of these very well-known famous people are not into anger and holding grudges because it does hold you back. So I think forgiveness, I think resilience, I think inner strength and inner belief, very strong inner belief. Particularly Maya Angelou, who was just a signature interview. I interviewed her twice, and it's on my website. You can hear her interview on my website. She was just amazing. Wow. She's everything everyone said that she was. I mean, she's no longer with us, but, and this is a woman who had horrific things happen to her as a child. And she turned around to be one of the most loving, forgiving women on the planet.
Yeah, a real inspiration. Yeah. When you told that story about the student who stood up and challenged you, you were talking about your book. Which book is that?
Well, that's actually in my new book. I've written two, but I'm writing a new book about finding your passion at any age for women baby boomers. Oh. And, I really am talking about moving through those negative voices. And I talk a lot about that in the book. Because we're going to have that, particularly when we're going for our passion, and it's not, it's not like a job. It's like we're creating something. Yeah. There are no guarantees with that, so you are going to have setbacks, and you're not always going to see the path because it's not like a job where I'm going to get paid. This is how long I'm going to work, and I'm going to get these benefits. I'm creating this, right. And am I going to have this in 6 months? Well, I believe I am, but do I know for sure? I don't.
No, we don't really know much for sure. This is such an important topic. We're going to take a short break. This is Straight Talk with Sandra Reich, and I'm with the amazing Patricia Raskin. We'll see you after the break.
Ladies, how about a luxurious weekend while learning to empower yourself? Join Straight Talk's Sandra Reich January 29th at a gorgeous spa in Quebec for 3 days and 2 nights of empowerment, growth, and decadence. Delicious food, powerful learning, and much more. Life 2.0 The Retreat. Master how to command respect in your relationships. Learn about yourself and what is blocking you from living your best life. Meet other like-minded women and join in on the retreat that sells out year after year. Isn't it time you chose you? Call us at 514-796-4357. That's 514-796-4357. Don't miss your chance to change your life and relationships forever.
Join the therapist who is affectionately known as the Couple Whisperer, Sandra Reich, on her famous couple retreats and change your life forever. Sandra offers couple retreats in beautiful locations several times a year that can radically change your love life. Couples describe her retreats as life-changing. Regain that loving feeling, bring your intimacy to a new level, and rediscover excitement and joy. Find out more at helpforanxietydepression.com or call 514-796-4357. We all want love and safety. Now you can have it. Call 514-796-4357 or helpforanxietydepression.com. Change your life forever with the latest cutting-edge products for home study treatment for anxiety, featuring the clinical director of the Montreal Center for Anxiety and Depression and host of Straight Talk, Sandra Reich. Sandra is joined by top therapist Georgia Dow in this revolutionary anxiety video therapy series. Thousands of people have benefited from this scientifically proven treatment approach. Isn't it time you choose yourself? Visit anxiety-videos.com right now. That's anxiety-videos.com and change your life forever. You are listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. To connect with the program today, please call 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to info@helpforanxietydepression.com. Now, back to Straight Talk. Here's Sandra Reich.
We're back with Straight Talk with Sandra Reich with the fascinating Patricia Raskin. I had to ask her on the break to come back. I want to mention again, Patricia, can you tell people when your show is on Voice America, please?
Mondays, 2 p.m. Eastern, and then 11 a.m. Pacific.
Okay. So,
and they can listen to my other show, which is on WPRO, and it's 630WPRO.com on Saturdays at 4.
You know, you were talking about even that story of the student who stood up and challenged you, and this idea of, were you always positive? You grew up in a background where there was criticism, and you found your way. I wonder then what your suggestions are for setbacks in your own personal and professional life. How have you dealt with them? There had to have been setbacks.
Many, yeah. What I do is I seek help. I seek mentors. And then I do a lot of inner work. You know, if there's something that I know I really want, particularly in my work, I see it, I visualize it, I move toward it, and I'm always seeking an opportunity. And when I keep my radar very, very open. You know, for example, I just interviewed a gentleman, and his work is so aligned with mine, and I may now consult with his company. And that it was just one of those things. Doesn't happen all the time, but my radar was right there because I know what I'm looking for, and I get frustrated. You know, I mean, many times you try things and they don't work, or you talk to people and you think it's going to work and it doesn't, and you just have to keep that vision very, very strong.
So it's so relevant to what we were talking about in the first segment. I guess you're careful about the story you tell yourself. Yeah. You don't tell yourself you're defeated when something goes wrong. You tell yourself that and I think you're a big believer in synchronicity, that things happen for a reason. So I guess when there's a setback, you're not falling into feeling sorry for yourself, or at least not for long.
Well, that does happen, but then I pull out of it. But, you know, I will tell you a quick story for your listeners, because I think this is very relevant. I had a hip issue. I had a performance syndrome issue with my sciatica muscle, whatever happened, but I got into a lot of pain, which is unlike me. I'm very physically active. And I went for physical therapy. I went to see a doctor, and it got about 75% better, 80% better. So I was really just about better. And then I was having an issue in my business, and I really started to worry. I got so worried, Sandra, and so I fretted so much that it was almost as though for a second or for an hour of time, I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see anything positive. I just saw black.
Wow. That's a scary feeling.
Within about 5 or 6 hours of that, my hip kicked up again as bad as it was in the beginning. I had to start all over.
The body speaks. Yeah, the body speaks. Yeah.
That's never, I went, oh, I can't believe this. It took another 2 to 3 weeks. Now it's done. But I vowed to myself that I will not do that to myself again. I won't.
So how do you stop yourself? If that would start to happen again, how would you stop yourself?
Well, I have enough now. I have enough traction. Do you understand? I have enough possibilities and enough traction and enough things happening that when I start going there, I say, nope, I'm not doing that. Nope. And I do. I mean, it'll go there. And then I'm, nope. And I just keep moving forward. And then good things happen.
Oh, amazing. Very inspirational. I wonder if this level of inspiration led you to this book that you're writing right now. I understand you're writing a book about finding your passion at any age. Can you tell us a bit about this book?
Yeah, it's really for women baby boomers. Okay. Mostly for women because, we didn't have the role models. Our mothers at 50 weren't doing what we're doing. So we were the pioneers. Right. So I write about that we're pioneers. I talk about how you identify your purpose and passion. I talk about how to move through fear into empowerment. I talk about, how your own personal growth can help you expand your work by understanding your own, personal foibles because it's all connected, personal and professional. I talk about blending the old with the new in terms of technology and communication skills. I talk about empowering success with positive and good relationships and getting support. Wow. And then I talk about staying on top of your game in terms of your health. And that's really the book, to really empower women to go after it.
And what inspired you to write it right now? What's happening for you that's making you want to write this book? Is it's sort of the lessons you've learned and that have really helped you?
Yeah, there's no question that this is definitely my story, but it's also other women's stories. I mean, the book weaves my story, other women's stories, how-tos, a lot of how-tos, some statistics. And this has been brewing for 2 or 3 years now. But I didn't know what form it was going to take. And then it just took this form after a lot of trial and error.
Because you trusted life. You trusted life to show you which way to go, I guess.
Well, it's not an easy, this is not for sissies, Sandra. I got to tell you.
I know.
It's much easier to get a 9-to-5 job, I've got to tell you. Yeah. We look at these actresses that win the Globe and the actors that win the Globes and we go, oh, we have no idea what they go through. It is not easy. It's lucrative. Yes, you get a reward, but it's a hard one. If you love it, though, you do it. And I love it, and I do it.
Well, I'm glad you're saying that because that comes up in my work a lot, the finish line syndrome, where people see you at the finish line, they don't see all the struggle that got you there, all the struggles that you had to go through, all the obstacles. So you're right. It's not for sissies. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm very excited about your book. When will we see this book?
Well, it's not ready yet, and I would say within the next year because I'm finalizing and getting things in order. And right now we're looking at our publisher and looking for a publisher. So that's the process we're in. But it's I've got some of the chapters done, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, it sounds exciting. Sorry, go ahead, Patricia.
No, I was going to say if you want my book Pathfinding, 7 Principles for Positive Living, I certainly can very quickly run those down if you'd like to hear them.
Oh, gosh, we'd love that.
All right, so the first one is honor your heritage, and that's all about understanding where you came from and honoring it, no matter, whether you like your relatives or you don't, understanding what's in your gene pool. The second one is being here now, being in the precious present. The third one is turning your obstacles into opportunities. The fourth one is honoring your talents, really not just writing them off and saying, oh, yeah, it's easy for me. It may be easy for you. It's not easy for someone else. You can give the talent. And then the fifth one is focusing on the positive, seeing the glasses half full. The sixth one is protecting relationships, all of them, from the person who waits on you to the custodian of a building, because they're very important people in your life. And then the seventh one, which I love, is believe in miracles, all those serendipity things that happen that are not coincidences.
Right. Like our meeting ourselves was such an incredible moment, Patricia doesn't live in New York. I don't live in New York. And we ended up meeting in New York. It was just so...
We were going there at the same time, which was very unique.
Great synchronicity. Those are such great principles. Where can people get that? Is that in written form, or is that on your website?
They can write to me. The book is no longer in print, but I certainly can send someone the 7 principles. I'd be happy to do that. I have those.
Yeah. So I have another question for you, but before I go to that, let's make sure that we don't run out of time on how people can find you every which way. Email, Facebook. How do people find the infamous and in a very good way, Patricia Raskin?
Okay. Well, I'm looking up all this stuff on social media as we speak here. PatriciaRaskin.com is my website. My Facebook page, I have 2 pages. I have Patricia Raskin, and then I have Patricia Raskin Resources. And that's my corporate one. So Patricia Raskin Resources, and then Patricia Raskin. And then Twitter, I get confused with Twitter. I think it's Patricia_Raskin, but I'd have to find that.
Don't worry about it, because if they punch in Patricia Raskin, they'll find you.
Yeah.
Patricia, you do coaching yourself, something called transition coaching. What does that mean?
Well, what I do is I help people. I'm writing this book about really women in transition that have a passion and want to create something. So I also work with people individually when they're in that kind of that space, that in-between space, and I help them.
Okay. So if they wanted to book a coaching session with you, what should they do?
Write to me, Patricia@patriciaraskin.com.
Okay, because one of the things that I admire a lot about you, again, like our previous caller, is that your openness to also talking about how you've gone through coaching and you've gone through therapy. We still live in a society that people are afraid to, they still think there's a lot of stigma at looking at themselves. One of your principles for positive living was looking at your heritage. I so agree with you. I think that the famous saying, those who forget the past are condemned to relive it. I think we need to know more about our past, and we need to explore that. How did you have that intuition or knowledge to know that this is so important in a world that puts so much stigma, especially on someone like you who's like a celebrity?
That's a tough question. It's just, there really is an answer, but I think I was just called to do what I'm doing. Yeah. I just think there's just a deeper, I'm just supposed to do this. And every time I try not to do it, it comes back to me.
Yeah, but I want to give you a lot of credit, because you're not just riding the wave. You're also making sure that you're continually working on your own things. And so you have a talent, you have a gift, you're using your gift, but you're also trying to take yourself to the next level. And I think that is really inspirational, Patricia.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Sandra. Really?
Yeah, I have to say it to you. I'd say it to you off the air, and I'd say it to you on the air. So I definitely would like to have you come back. I'd like to talk more about those principles for positive living, because I think that's like a show in itself. I really do. Because how did you come up, by the way, with those principles for positive living? I'm curious.
Oh, I don't know what to tell you. My higher power, my higher guidance, my higher voice, my living. It's just, it's that creative piece. It just kind of comes out of me.
Wow. Because they're really on the mark, and there's just a very psychological aspect to them, and they're just brilliant.
Thank you.
I'm going to squeeze in one more quick question. This is me being curious. You met all these very interesting people. Anyone stand out? Any interesting stories stand out in all these years interviewing such fascinating people?
Well, I think I said it. Maya Angelou, I'm just outstanding.
Okay.
Just outstanding, her level of forgiveness. I thought Jane Seymour was very interesting. I've interviewed her several times. She's a real Renaissance woman. She's a painter. She's an actress. She does design work. She's just a very unusual woman. Does a lot of speaking. Let's see. Oh, there's just been a lot of people. Of course, Dr. Oz is very interesting. There have been quite a few. Marianne Williamson was incredible. Oh, my God, she's an amazing woman.
She's a lovely woman. Any funny or bizarre moments on the show?
Sometimes, you lose a racer or they'll, you get disconnected. But, and I think in the very early days of doing radio, I think, funny things would happen. But nothing lately that really stands out.
Well, Patricia, you've helped so many people. Your show does offer so much. I love that line, turning obstacles into opportunities. I can't get it out of my head myself. I'm so honored to have you on my show, and I'm honored to call you friend. Thank you so much for coming on Straight Talk, Patricia Raskin of The Patricia Raskin Show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is Straight Talk with Sandra Reich, and keep your eyes on the stars. We're both talking about positivity and living your best life, so go do that now. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to Straight Talk with Sandra Reich. We hope you've enjoyed today's show, and we'll tune in again next Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. Now, go live your best life.
Thanks again for listening to the preceding program, brought to you on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. For more information about our network and to check out additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericahealth.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the preceding program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.